Today is all about one of my favorite guitar players of all time, Jimi Hendrix. This is Jimi 101, the ultimate guitar lesson. Let's get into it. Okay, number one, when you're talking about Jimi Hendrix, you're talking about one of the greatest rhythm guitar players of all time. I know everybody thinks about, all the histrionics and the lead playing and, the wild, stage antics and all that. But really, his rhythm playing is steeped in R&B. And no doubt that he got a lot of that from his days playing and backing artists on the Chitlin circuit of the USA. What is the Chitlin circuit? The Chitlin circuit was a circuit of honky-tonks and black-owned clubs that would have, acts like Jackie Wilson and Otis Redding and, all these amazing like R&B artists. And they would go from town to town playing. And Jimi was a sideman for many of these artists. Undoubtedly, he picked up a lot of this either by, playing the songs, learning the songs, but also, undoubtedly, when you're a sideman and you're playing the same songs night after night, you start trying to find ways to improve and enhance the songs and enhance what you're playing. So undoubtedly, his time on the Chitlin circuit backing these classic R&B artists shaped the way that he played guitar. Okay, now it would be impossible for me to teach you everything that Jimi Hendrix does and to encompass his entire career, because even as of about 10 years ago, they just put out another Hendrix album, and there is so many live performances, and improvisation was a huge part of what Jimi did. So what I'm going to do is show you some Jimi-isms, some things that he did that you can incorporate in your own playing. All right, so let's get into that. All right, first, I'm going to show you, everybody knows your G bar chord right here, right? And, it's nice as it is, but let me show you some things that Jimi Hendrix did to enhance that chord. First of all, Jimi is known for wrapping his thumb over the top of the neck. All right, so he does that so he can hit that bass note and then add. Right, that little piece from Little Wing, that's a huge, cool lick. Right? Let me show you how I did that. First, you wrap over the top on the 3rd fret and hold down that G note, that G bass note. And on the top, I've got what I would call a Chuck Berry. All right? You've got those 2 notes, that's a C and a G, and I'm hitting it with the 1st finger. All right? Then I'm hammering onto the 9, which is at the 5th fret here. It's an A note. And then pull off. And then I go to the 3rd of the G chord. Right? Right? So I'm hammering, I'm creating this little piece right here, but I'm taking this note off and I'm using the 3rd finger to hammer onto the 5th fret to play the 4th of the G chord. And then I hit the root note with my 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the D string. So again. Right? Now that's a super cool and easy lick to learn, and it's a way to enhance your chordal playing. All right? Now another little lick that he does in the same song, Little Wing, and this song, you should learn this song if you can. But if not, grab these little bits and pieces, because these bits and pieces will serve you well, all right? Now, for instance, there's a part in the song where he goes, I mean, that says so R&B right there. I use that all the time in my own playing. If I'm sitting on a stagnant major chord, right? Now, what that is the A note here and a D, right? Now, a lot of times I play this stuff all the time and I don't think about it. And that's what you should aspire to do, is learn these things, but learn them as shapes. And that way you don't have to think when you play. You can just play from right here. All right? So A and D. You got A and D right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to slide that up a whole step to B, E. And then go back down. So, and, 2, and, right? You can even hit that bass note there if you want. Right? Super cool lick. You know, if you're playing a totally different song, and that it just sounds cool. And what I did there, I was playing in the key of A, right? Now, you know, when you're in this position, this little piece, and all you're doing is sliding it up a whole step, right? So that's an example of how I take a little bit and piece of Jimi Hendrix and incorporate it into my own playing. So one other lick, you take this same shape, this A and this D, right? And then you're going to hammer on the third of G. Once again, we're still in G. And then with your pinky, hit that root. And then you could hit your Jimi Hendrix thumb over the neck. Right? Those are all just really cool things. Now, another one you can do in G, you can take this same, now this, right? You can take this same, now this is, to me, is like Chuck Berry, these two notes, right? And you can grab these two notes, this D and this G, you know? And you grab these two notes, and then you hammer on the B string on the 5th fret. Just that little piece. Right? Now, what you can is see how I combined some of the ideas I just showed you to come up with a cool little R&B sounding guitar part. All right, there's so much just in the little tiniest things with Jimi Hendrix's playing that you can grab and use on your own. Now, this same thing, right? You can grab it right here. So here's your G here, right? D and G, just like, and then same thing right here. You can do it on your bass notes. Right? So that is another little bit and piece. And what I did this. So watch. That's almost Keith Richards right there. You see where the styles can interlap right there. So, right? And then. All right, so that's some ideas, and you can also experiment with, you know, up here, you've got this G chord right here, and you've got G and E minor pentatonic. G major pentatonic and E minor pentatonic are the exact same scales. Right? So you've got this G bar chord right here at the 10th fret, your G, and at the 12th fret, D, G, D, right? Right? But if you take this finger and just move it here, you've got all that kind of in that Keith Richards shape that I showed you in that video. And you've got these. Right? So all I'm doing there is grabbing bits and pieces from the pentatonic scale and doing these little Jimmy hammer-ons. Right? And once again, that kind of interlaps with the Keith Richards thing. They're kind of intertwined there. They're both fans of R&B and blues. All right? Now, when we come to minor chords, there's a lot we can do there. Right? That's another little piece from Little Wing, right? And what that is I'm putting my thumb here on the A bass note. We're in A minor, right? And you've got this, it's like a C triad with an A in the bass. C major triad, A in the bass is A minor, right? And you've got all these cool little things that I just showed you up here at the 12th fret. You've got all that right here. Right? So all I'm doing here is hammering on to the 7th fret on the G string. And then. Right? And that's what he does to set up, going back to that E minor in Little Wing. Right? Hendrix is very, you know, it's almost like he was a closet bass player, and I know that he definitely played bass on some of those Jimi Hendrix tracks. But, so, that's hammering on the 7th fret with your 3rd finger, then 5, 7, 5, and hitting that E. All right. So that's like a minor lick. Now, some things that you can also do is. That's a little piece from Little Wing. Right? So this is a B minor right here, but we'll do it in A just so we keep it consistent. Here we go. Right? So all I'm doing there is I'm barring right here to create this all 4 strings right there. I'm barring across. Right? So I'm hitting the 9 on the 7th fret, and then I'm hitting the minor 3rd there. Right. Now that's the other thing that Hendrix is great at and does a lot is hammer-ons. All right? So when you get in these little A minor little pockets, and what you should do is work on building your strength. You should be able to hear that, just like a lot of times you'll see Jimi Hendrix and he'll have his hand up like this, and and he's just hammering on notes. So in order to build your strength, and you're going to need your strength right here to cop some of this stuff. You know, part of what people don't talk about guitar playing is the physicality of it, and especially with Jimi Hendrix. You know, you're going to need to develop certain muscles and muscle memory to do this kind of playing. Right? So those are little hammer-ons. I'm taking some of the same concepts that we just did, and I'm just repeating it. Putting it down and pulling it off. And when you pull it off, you kind of rake across the string. And that just gives it that. See, so those same licks in A minor work here in C major. Because C minor and A minor are relative. Right? Now, there's so much more there that we can do. Right? Now, there's little moves. Once you figure out the style of this, you can come up with your own cool combinations and develop your own style. And that's what I want you to do out of this. We don't want to sound just like Jimi Hendrix, but we want to be able to cop that style. If somebody says, hey man, I'm recording this track, can you do something kind of like Jimi Hendrix? Learning these little isms, these little things that Jimmy did will allow you to be able to cop that. Now there's so many guys that took Jimmy's stuff and you know, kind of put their own twist on it, whether it's Stevie Ray Vaughan or John Mayer. So learning these things, going back to the source and learning what Jimmy did is a valuable thing that you can incorporate into your own playing. All right. Now, the other thing that Jimmy would often do is like add what I would consider bass lines to his playing. So that's like a bass walk up, and it's a common thing in R&B playing. So what I'm doing here is I'm hitting a C bar chord. Right? That's C right there. There's your little A shape. We all probably know that out there, but what I'm doing, and then I go to the E. Right? So I'm walking up to the 5. I'm hitting that open E, F, F sharp, C. So, and then I'm going to walk up to D. Walking up to the A note. So, C. Right? And then D. Right? And that gets us to E. Right? So, he walks up to D. Walks up to the G note. It's just 4 notes consecutively. Then he's right? It's like he's playing a bass line on guitar. That's another thing that he does, and you'll hear him do that. That's kind of the Hey Joe, you know, walk up, but you'll hear him do that a lot in his playing. All right. Now the other thing that we have to talk about is the Hendrix chord. All right. He is so influential on guitar that they actually named a chord after him. Right. So what this is, it's a 7-chord sharp 9. So flat 7, sharp 9. And what it has in it, this is in the key of E. Now I'm going to put a diagram of it up there for you so that you can see the shape and learn it yourself. If you don't know this, this will help you. All right? So what you've got is the root note, E, played with your second finger. You've got the third of the chord played with your first finger. You've got the flat 7 played with your third finger. So that's like a dominant chord. Like straight out of playing an R&B, old school R&B tune. But the thing that really makes it unique is putting the minor third or the sharp 9 on top. Right? Now you hear that? So what you've got the tension of the major third, and then in the upper level, you've got that sharp 9. They're dissonant. By itself, sounds pretty crazy, but when you hear that. And a lot of times, Jimmy will hit that bass. You'll hit that bass note. Almost like he's playing bass and guitar at the same time. It's really amazing what he did. As just a rhythm guitar player, if Jimmy had just been a rhythm guitar player in an R&B band and had gotten some notoriety, he would have gotten notoriety just for that. All right? So now we've got the Hendrix chord, the 7 sharp 9. Right? So what we're going to do as a cherry on top of that last thing that I just showed you is we're going to add that to that bass line walk up. So it doesn't sound any more Hendrix than that. It's probably like the most Hendrix thing you could possibly play. And you can use these things in your own playing. Anytime you've got a dominant chord in the song, if you want to put a little more tension on it, and maybe you don't have a keyboard player in your band, right? You can do that. Right? So that's taking some of Hendrix's ideas and putting them in a context where you can use them on your own. All right? Now, for the next segment of the video, we're going to get into some of his leads. All right? Now, the number one thing that you're going to need, you need a fuzz face, all right? Or some kind of fuzz. Because back in those days, we didn't have the thousands of pedals that we have now. We didn't have overdrives. We didn't have all these things. But what he did have was his signature Marshall stacks. Now, what I'm using to get this Hendrix clean tone right now that I've been getting is the UA Effects Lion. Now, they have a setting called Wind Cries Rhythm. I'm going to put a link in the description of where you can get this pedal. It'll help my channel out a lot. And I'm also going to put a link to a fuzz face in the description so that you can purchase one if you need to or if you want to, and it'll help this channel out a lot. All right, now we're going to get into Jimi Hendrix, the lead playing, next. Now we're back. All right, so now we're going to get into his lead playing. All right, now back when Jimmy was on the scene, we didn't have thousands of overdrive pedals and all the things that we have now that we're lucky to have as guitar players. But what they did have, it was new on the scene, is a thing called the fuzz face. It's a fuzz pedal, all right? Now, there's tons of them out there. What he used was the fuzz face. And it's a really cool sound. And through, a stack of cranked Marshalls, it can really it can almost play itself, all right? Now, I've had to put a gate on this sound because this introduces a lot of noise into your sound. But in the meanwhile, let's get into what made Jimi's lead playing so unique. All right, the first thing that I'm going to show you is in the key of E minor, right? Now, this is just a classic Jimi Hendrix double stop, right? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to put your pinky right here to form this little, that little Chuck Berry, D and G, right? And you're going to put your third finger on the G string, right? And you're going to bend up a whole step, and your third finger is on the 14th fret, right? Your pinky is now on the 15th fret, and you're going to do a bend. This is probably one of the most Hendrix, bends there is. And you can follow it up with that little, right? That's just pure. Right? And then you can hit that bass note. And just let the noise and the chaos just erupt, right? I love it. What I'm doing there, I did the double stop. I did a slide down, right? And then I'm back in the same shape, the same pentatonic shape, but I'm just bending this by itself, this G string. Right? So I'm taking this, my third finger, and I'm putting it on the second fret, and once again, I'm bending up a whole step. And you can let it fall off, and you can even add the double stop. So what you've got here, you can do here. And let it slowly pull down. Bring that. And hear all that chaos that's being, it sounds like the volcanoes are erupting and absolute chaos is ensuing. That was some of the beauty of Hendrix, is the fire and the fury that he brought, right? So we'll once again be up here, right? Drop down, hold the low E, and then it's gut-wrenching, and that is one of the beauty of Jimi Hendrix. It rips your soul out. You're not going for precision. You're not going for, how many notes you can play. You're going for pure feeling. And you know what? I think that means more than all the notes in the world, and that's why I love Jimi Hendrix's playing. So once again, down to the low E, and then just grab this single note. I think that sounds more Hendrix. Let it fall off. Now, you can follow that up. You want to sound like Jimi with a little hammer on here. Right? So what that is, at the 12th fret, I've got my first finger here, and then on the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, on the 15th fret, I'm hammering on my third finger. I'm not using the pinky for this. It sounds much better when you hammer on with your third finger if you're trying to get the Hendrix thing. So talked about earlier about the strength, building this forearm strength to be able to do this. A lot of times Jimmy would do this and point. Point at an attractive female or whatever, wiggle his tongue, do whatever. You need to build your strength to be able to do that, if you can't do that already. All right? Now, we're going to follow that up with this. We're going to add the whammy bar. Now, in Jimi Hendrix's day, they didn't have locking tremolos or Floyd Roses or any of that. So, live, and they didn't even have tuners, if you think about it. They didn't have strobe tuners. They didn't have anything. He just had his heart and his soul and his mind, and he put it all into the music. So we're going to add a little dive bomb, a little Jimi Hendrix dive bomb. It's not really a dive bomb, but it's more of a depressing or lowering the trem bar. So you do the hammer on. And then you could go back to that double stop and grab the bar and just rock it up and down. All I'm doing is taking those ideas that I just showed you and adding some heart and adding some soul to it and just, pouring your heart out. There's a cry, there's an anguish in Jimi's playing. And, until you felt those feelings of heartbreak and all those things, it's maybe hard if you're, a young kid watching this video and you've never had your heart broken. It might be hard to put these feelings out. But as soon as you've had your heart stomped on and ripped out of your chest, you're going to be able to feel these things and play them. All right? Now check it out. So what I just did, if we put all of this together, I did the Jimi Hendrix double stop here at the 12th fret. I slide down. Hit that low E string, right? Let it just illuminate, right? And I fall off. Right? And then I'll go up here. And then I'll add that double stop again, but this time I add the trem bar. All right? It doesn't get any more Jimi Hendrix than that. There's so many things that I could literally spend an entire lifetime on YouTube trying to show you how to play like Jimi Hendrix. But I can give you these little bits and pieces that will give you the ability to learn it on your own. I want you to be just like when I was growing up. We didn't have YouTube. All right, so we've got so much of a great advantage now with this YouTube and being able to learn from each other and grow as players. All right, now the last thing that I'm going to show you, we could be on Jimi Hendrix lead tip, for eons. And I will show you one more thing that he does. This is a kind of a tricky move that I don't really use a lot in my playing because it is tricky and you've got to nail it, right? So what we're going to do, once again, we're in this E minor box. Right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to bend this B string. We're going to put our third finger on the 12th, 13th, 15th fret, right? And we're going to bend up a whole step. But while we're doing that, we're grabbing this G string with our second finger. So, right? So you bend up, grab, and grab, and pull down. Hendrix. Right? Thing that Hendrix will do is he will manipulate his toggle switch to get different sounds. So once again, we're going to bend this G string, starting on the third finger on the second fret, bend it up a whole step. You hear him do that in Voodoo Child. Right? Just cool little tricks that the guy was just full of it, man. He just had so much. All right, now I'm going to show you a little bit of the showmanship, right? Jimi Hendrix was a great showman. That's what made him, when he was touring, it made him the #1 act. He was #1 as far as concert ticket sales at one point in time. And it's because he was such a great showman, right? So, Jimi Hendrix is famous for playing with his teeth, right? Now, I can show you how to do that. It's a simple trick, and it can be used, live to, put a little flash into your playing. Now, it's very simple because all you're doing is just plucking the string with your front teeth. Now, I don't suggest you try this at home because, depending on what shape your teeth are in, you might have some problems. So unless you really feel inclined to do this, I don't recommend it. But in the meanwhile, this is how he did it. So what you would do is grab this same double stop and you bring the guitar up to your mouth. So you're just literally grabbing your shape. You're not really worried so much about this because you're comfortable in that box. And you're just plucking the strings with your teeth, right? It's just 2 strings. And that's what you're doing, all right? Now, the other thing Jimi Hendrix is known for is playing behind his back. And that's something I can really easily show you how to do. Once again, you just would grab your box where you're familiar with on your guitar, right? And what you can do is just grab it. So let me show you what it looks like from the back. Those are 2 tricks that Jimi Hendrix probably learned on the Chitlin circuit. And once he got on the big stage and he pulled out all those tricks and the amazing way that he dressed and carried himself and just this whole image that he created, he was an amazing artist. And I have to say, if I had to pick my #1 guitar player of all time, it would be Jimi Hendrix. All right? Now, in the comments, let me know who your favorite guitar player is, who you like, maybe what your favorite Hendrix-ism is, and also, if anybody out there got to see Jimi Hendrix live, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Now, thanks so much for watching Jimi 101, the ultimate guitar lesson. Now, I want you to take these ideas and go out there and make them your own. Create your own music. And you know what? Always play with your mind, your heart, and your soul. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.